Probably the easiest example of the British invasion's early semblance and revitalization of American music is Eric Burdon's voice as lead singer of the rock band, The Animals. As a singer, Burdon's voice does much of the talking for us. In many ways, The Animals were everything perfect and strikingly rugged about the British invasion. With a band like the Hollies being ever so imaginative, appealing to the similarities of Creedence Clearwater Revival. The Animals were able to reinvigorate interest in the soul traditions of black musicianship pertaining to the blues genre. Today we'll take a closer look at Eric Burdon's hardcore lifestyle and the ways in which his vocal range is a testament to rock vocalists everywhere, continuing a tradition that magnifies the contribution of the underrepresented artists within the music canon. Burdon managed to encapsulate the powerhouse vocal set of blues and soul, while simultaneously balancing style in a unique part of his magnificent musicality. Rock and roll is not meant to be neat and packaged. If there is ever a life that is exemplary of that statement, it is Eric Burdon, especially as a measured vocalist. During his time with the funk group, war, and R&B-infused rock band, The Animals, anyone could see Burdon was different from the rest. Not only was he the polar opposite of lead singers, Paul McCartney and Mick Jagger, but he managed to build his artistic expression from the foundations of soul music. Born in Newcastle, England, it was clear to anyone, especially his secondary school teacher, that he was made for the arts. Much later, it would come to be known that Eric was enraptured by music. After a complete assessment of Burdon's voice, it is apparent that he fully lent himself to the music and the music to himself. The Animals would officially form in 1962, after Burdon joined the group, previously called the Alan Price Rhythm and Blues Combo. When you listen to Burdon's voice, it is difficult to not notice the tremendous force, engrossing and all-consuming quality of it. For the sake of our video, we won't get into too much history with the band, because that's another topic entirely. But Eric Burdon was truly different. His voice was impossible to miss and completely otherworldly if you heard it live. The hippie revolution was one that you had to witness. The hallucinogenic craze was all the rage and teens drank themselves silly. In Burdon's eyes, this was a way to lose himself completely before he went on stage. In those times, everyone lived like there was no tomorrow. And we guess, in some ways, there wasn't. Like with Hendrix, Janis Joplin or Jim Morrison, Burdon recalled, "Every time you tried something new you took a chance. I made it through, but a lot of my friends didn't." As Burdon sat down to reminisce on the old times, he recognized how much he admired the American blues traditions, citing their way of doing things were much more sophisticated. With his heroes being Muddy Waters, John Lee Hooker and Bo Diddley, it was impossible to ignore just how deep the majestic soulfulness of their music meant to a British lad like himself. At his age, it was a way to pick up girls and grow in a deeper admiration for the blueprint of blues music. Finally, the time arrived that Burdon would get to meet his hero, John Lee Hooker. He fondly recalled, "I also used to sign his autographs. At that time he couldn't even write his own name." He was really appreciative of that. "When I eventually got to America with the Animals, the first thing I did was go to John Lee's house in Detroit. We spent the better part of a week there." As you'll notice with many rockers, their first exposure to blues music was from black players. And while some will go to great lengths to deny it, Burdon's voice was the sheer amalgamation of Ray Charles, Big Joe Turner, and some others. Truly, what made the Animals great was their ability to combine the fullness of blues with the new British wave that many youngsters were becoming accustomed to. This was due to Alan Price's continental organ lines and Burdon's singing ability. But Burdon did not live a spotless life. His lifestyle was filled with modes of drug experimentation. With many, Burdon searched and pondered the mysteries of life, while gradually filling a void that many rockers didn't, or rather could not. The only difference is that Burdon was able to fully come to grips with his career and life. In it, he realized what many who lost their lives to the rock craze did not, the immutable permanence of life. He rationalized, "I was lucky to have been around at a certain point in time. I was in a bookshop in my hometown the other day and saw an old copy of Life magazine. It was from 1968. And I realized I'd been just about everywhere. It was magic to realize I'd been a part of it. Now I can see the wonderful side of things rather than the dark side. That motto has allowed Burdon to live his life without parameters, without margins. Burdon is a boundless beacon from the new wave of rock and roll. His life teaches us the lessons of failure and the ways we can kickstart our future. One that will never be forgotten and one that is impossible to ignore.